we're doing Hook. And this was a fun one. This is one that was live action. It's different than a lot of other stuff we've done. So we're going to get into a handful of different aspects here. We're going to talk about how this movie hits different as a parent. We're going to talk about critiques of the public education system. We're going to talk about the self-esteem movement.
We get into father issues. We get into the nature of adolescence. We get into, what does Tinkerbell represent? So, yep, buckle up. Join us. Here we are.
What's going on? Ready
Just
to
when
dive
you were
in.
starting to miss us.
I know. We're back and we're doing something a little different. What are we getting into today, Micah?
Well, today we are getting into a movie that absolutely just pitches itself in the boardroom, and that is Hook.
Yeah. Which is kind of different than what we've done before, because we've been on this streak of sequels lately that we've been going through, and this is a sequel. It's a sequel to Peter Pan. It feels distinctly different. This doesn't feel like a Peter Pan 2. It feels like a separate. It's also not Disney, but it's I think it's a brilliant sequel. It's going live action. It's a live action sequel from an animated movie. So that's unique.
And more than that, I think it's a live action sequel to the book, which has been immortalized by an animated feature that this movie has no legal creative link to, because this was made by Amblin. This was not related to Disney in any way, as far as I know. It's currently not available on any streaming services.
No. Yeah. I had to rewatch this with kids, or show it to my kids for the first time last weekend, which is what sparked the interest in doing this one, and had to rent it off of Amazon and pay $4 for it. So certainly not a Disney Plus property.
Yeah, so it's more than, I think it speaks to how deeply the movie, the animated Peter Pan, is entrenched, that it is the way. And I also think they were very faithful to the character descriptions in Peter Pan. Okay. And of course, it had been performed as a play for decades before Walt got a hold of it. But all the characters, super instantly recognizable, all these things totally just entrenched in our the canon.
So even us having to explain okay, so Hook, not a Disney movie. It's you have to kind of remind yourself that these things aren't linked, that this is we've been talking about the source material and all of these things. Peter Pan was a classic story made as a play. Disney did it as the animated movie, which that's what that's what you've been on the ride with at Disneyland, and we often think when you think of Peter Pan. And so when Steven Spielberg creates this sequel, it's almost okay, those aren't, this is actually just another part in that series rather than a Disney movie sequel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always just think of how could this possibly go wrong, when I mean, just the pitch of Peter Pan grows up, and he has to go back and face being a grown-up in Neverland.
And confront Hook, right? Because when you have such a well-known story like this, it's okay, how are you going to make a sequel to this? And I think thematically, if Peter Pan is a story of the boy who never wants to grow up, the idea of telling this version of the story as that boy did grow up, and he became this boring lawyer who misses his kids' games, and he's lost all sense of what it means to be a child, and needs to return to Neverland to rediscover that in order to connect with his kids, as it relates to just the story arc of life, the story arc of what it means to go through the stages of life and become a grown-up and become an adult, and then become a parent, which is a lot of what this is about. I'll get into kind of some themes and the way it kind of hits you when you go through it. It works so well. It's just a faithful sequel to Peter Pan.
And it's if the first story of Peter Pan and Peter Pan syndrome is all about the extreme of over-indexing on permanent childhood.
Right.
Then Peter goes and becomes an adult, and he over indexes on being an adult.
Which it kind of harkens to at the end. This relates to the Disney movie, but like at the end of the Disney movie, well, I remember when we did this, we unpacked it, how Captain Hook and Wendy's father are voiced by the same guy. And Wendy's father he's grown up, he's disconnected from childhood, but at the end of the movie, he like kind of remembers the sense of Neverland,
He's
this
like, oh
thing I
yeah,
did a
it's
long
kind of
time ago.
familiar.
Right. Yeah. And so it's Peter Pan is kind of like in that role now, but he's so disconnected from that he's forgotten all of this stuff. So he's kind of taking that father role.
Yeah, and interestingly, it's called Hook, and if it was made today, it would be a postmodern reevaluation of Hook as misunderstood
Here's
hero.
a sympathetic look at the villain who's misunderstood, right?
Yeah. Let's deconstruct the hero-villain narrative, and let's see it from Captain Hook's eyes.
Which
this is not that movie.
Not at all what that is. I mean, it's a Hook is a villain, and he is a villain through and through. At no point is he like, we feel bad for him or we feel sympathetic. There's a couple scenes, one very well known one that's like, this guy is a bad guy. Like, he is dark.
And an amazing moment actually where he does receive some mercy. There's this one moment where he loses his wig, and we see that he's just a bald old man.
Right.
And he's like, come on.
Yeah.
And what would Neverland be without a villain?
Right.
And it's sort of like, what would the Garden of Eden be without the serpent? Like I gotta be here. You gotta. And the importance of the role that he plays, and he knows where he fits into the world, and he loves it. You know, he knows his job, and he loves it. He does it well.
Well, I think it works well in this one as an extension, because Captain Hook he's not. Peter Pan is decidedly different in this one than he is in like when he's Peter Pan, right? Captain Hook he's still the same guy. He's still the same villain. He's killed the crocodile and turned him into a giant clock, but otherwise, like, he's still doing the same thing. He's still we unpacked it when we did Peter Pan. I think Hook represents the grown up who never left Neverland, and now you are still the mean old adult who's still playing with kids, and you have no family, you have nothing to show for it, but you're the villain for everyone around you.
And you know what it reminds me of is like Norm Macdonald. Do you remember? He had all these great riffs where he'd go off on teachers. And he'd go off and like, oh, you're like the smartest person in the room trying to buy a bunch of children, like tough job, you know, and he would go off. And there's something about Hook and his pirates where, absent of Peter Pan, when the force that's going to sort of push back against him leaves, there's this power vacuum, he just takes over. Because he's the only man in that. Like, there's no other grown humans. Like, it's all children, and even though they can fly and stuff, it doesn't matter. He's a grown-up. He's got gunpowder and swords and a ship, and like, so he's in charge. And so he gets to take over.
He's got this group of pirates around him that kind of follow him, and they're all played by adults. But yes, in Neverland, like that's who he is. He's the top of the grown-ups that never grew up, if that makes sense.
So absent, almost like a microcosm of Peter Banning's life, is absent the child, the grown-up runs amok. Yeah. So here we find them. Peter Banning has to be reminded who he is.
Yeah. Well, so he comes back. It's interesting that the thing that brought him back was Captain Hook kidnaps his kids, and he needs to go back to Neverland to rescue them and battle Hook to do that, which that starts this whole theme of Hook as a tempter. Hook as someone who's trying to steal your kids away from you, which is a theme that people still wrestle with. Who are the villains? Who are the grown-ups who never quite grew up out there, who are trying to pull your kids into this Neverland lifestyle? And they're able to do that because he is absent, because he's busy with work. He's not paying attention to his kids, and he's not developed the bond with them as a father and as a parent. And so they are susceptible to being tempted, to being lured into this world where you never want to grow up, even though they're not orphans. Like all the other kids in Neverland they're orphans. They're the lost boys. They're the ones who their mother died. There's a couple allusions to some of their backstory, but it doesn't matter. Like, that's who is susceptible to being sucked away to Neverland. It's very similar to Pinocchio and Pleasure Island.
Yeah, that's good. And how else is it like Treasure Island? Well, it doesn't chew them up and spit them out, but it does arrest them. Like, it keeps them the way Pleasure Island turns them into property.
Sure. Yeah.
And doesn't let them go.
See, I would argue that it does, because if you stay in Neverland, you become one of the pirates.
Right. Well, and you forget. Isn't that because that's Peter Banning when he figures out that he's Peter Pan.
Mm-hmm.
Now wait, why does Hook go get him again? Hook comes out and like starts all this because he's sick and tired of not having a proper nemesis, right?
Yeah, that's yes. So that's a big part of it. If I remember right, that's Hook's. They don't really get into it much, but I think that's Hook's initial motivation for it.
He's like more or less
the war.
He says the Lost Boys.
He says, I want my war. I want my war against my nemesis.
Yeah.
And because when Peter gets there, he sees his kids who are captured by Hook, and then he reveals himself. He's like, I'm Peter Pan, and I'm here to like take my kids, and like, this loser, like, I'm here. I am here to fight the war, the battle I've looked forward for forever, and this is what I get. Like, and then that's where they make the agreement where he said, if you can touch your kids' hands, we'll let you go, and he can't do it.
Right. Yeah, and so he does that out of like it's vainglory and pride.
Yeah.
And
well, I want to play with my childhood buddy who we would have these epic battles, and I would still want to go back to that. And there is an element of like, you're kidnapping people's kids and doing these horrible things so you can play around. I mean, what more of a sadistic grown-up who never grew up, who is still wanting his old childhood recreation.
Right.
That fits that to a T.
And he is playing stakes of life and death, which you feel much more in this movie than you do in the rated G animated children's film, and rightfully so. But it's not just like kidnappings and games. It's he kills people regularly, and his intent is like, I want to like just because Peter Pan's gone forever from Neverland and I can have Neverland to myself, it's not enough. I need him dead. So he's vengeful, he's arrogant. I mean, he's got the dark triad, right? Like he's got all of this cluster B going on.
Mm-hmm. So
he's in charge.
He's sadistic, he's Machiavellian, and he's I should know, I was a psychologist, but he's totally a dark triad, psychopathic villain. Feels like a good time to bring up the one scene which really cements him as like, this is a dark, scary guy, the boo box scene, which all my friends from our generation, like, that scene traumatized people, because when he comes out and he's first introduced, we're ready to have our war and we're ready to have this whole thing. Who doubted me? One of you doubted me. And then he singles out the one person who doubted him, and he's like, was it you? And it's like, yeah, it was me. All right, to the boo box. And so that actress that's played by Glenn Close, and the scream she lets out is like traumatizing, because you realize like, we're like, this person's actually doing like some dark things in a kid's like PG-13 movie. And I remember really feeling like, oh, this guy feels different and scary when after all that.
And he does it by first luring them into this sense that there's going to be mercy. Which is the same thing that people with this cluster B, when they're in charge, it's the same thing they do, where they go, okay, admit your crime, say what you did, what's the crime against, social justice or whatever that you committed, come forward, admit it, and then you'll be absolved, but then there is no absolution.
To the boo box.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. And so right off the bat, it's like, okay, this guy is dark and just kind of out for blood, for his own amusement.
Right. And for his own arrogance, like his own reputation and his own self-glorification, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly the tyrant of Neverland.
Yeah.
He's the one, And, which feels distinctly like, the animated movie feels like a kid's movie. Captain Hook, the pirate, battles these kids, and they have these fun little adventures, and it's cute, and it's whatever. And this right off the bat is like, oh, shit, there's real stakes here. Like, there's people that people that are dying, children that are killed by this guy. And which is what happens when you have like orphan adolescent boys playing around in Neverland. You get into some dark corners where there are Captain Hooks out there, and life is on the line. Like it's we think we're just playing around, and we think we're just screwing around, and we're going to rob a store, we're going to do whatever. We start getting into like real progressive trouble, and all of a sudden, like, mortality is at stake here. And I think this movie kind of has a way of removing the veil of what seems like just this childhood's play world in Neverland. And there's magic, and there's parts that are certainly whimsical, but yeah, the stakes are real.
Yeah, and in some way, I think all of this is also adolescence, because the Lost Boys are one age, and then Rufio is decidedly older, it seems to me, than the other Lost Boys. Is that he's like a teenager. And he's the one who gets himself into that trouble, riding his skateboard and all that stuff, and then he ends up killed.
Yeah.
It's that like that period where childhood is dancing with adulthood, and sometimes the dance goes horribly wrong, just like it does in real life. As like the kind of idiot fun you can have as a kid once you add automobiles and STDs and alcohol and all that. Like, you're still doing idiot kid stuff. You just oops, your toolbox, like your toy box changed, and these toys have sharp edges, and so it's all fun and games until Rufio loses his life.
Right, and that's the world we end up in here.
Yeah,
and so
and then we also sorry, real quick, while we're messing with adolescence, this is also the first time we really confront the fact that Tinkerbell and Pan have romantic tension in any way that is real, because now he's got a man's body, and so this childhood crush thing changes, and so there's this it's interesting because it's packed with sexual tension, but it's also still somehow innocent in the way that they do it in the movie. And so he confronts like this childhood crush kind of situation and resolves that, and it's like, well, adulthood waits on the other side of this.
Right. Well, because Tinkerbell she's not grown up. She I guess in this one feels to me like the Lost Boys are all teen boys. She feels like the adolescent girl. She's trying to be the fairy. She's got this crush on the guy who was always there, or who was the like head of the Lost Boys growing up, and now he's grown up, and there's still this like kind of lingering feelings, but she still feels very, very young.
Well, and I think she represents that idea of fantasy, because she's beautiful beyond belief, and she's always super approachable. She's your playmate, she's your friend, she's always there, and she's like intangible in that, like, whatever sort of desire you might have for this thing, like, it can never be manifest, because she's this little fairy, so she's totally safe. So she's free to be all of the feminine.
I mean, I think the symbolism of Tinkerbell is ultimately like the Lost Boys' fantasy of what the feminine is. It's this cute little thing. I can take it out and play with it. And I mean, the connection between, like, people have called Tinkerbell like the porn fairy. Like, it's the sexual feminine. I can play with it. There's no risks. There's no consequences of it. And
interesting.
There's consequence of those actual things, but it feels like it can just, I can take it out when I want it, put it away when I don't want it. It can be whatever I want it to be in this kind of girl play thing.
Yeah. And so in this movie, they bring her character into some more depth, where she, briefly takes on human size. And we see that, like, oh, she does have desire, and she does have remorse, and she does have like longing, and she does have, like, there are consequences to this crush. Yeah. Which is, in your line of work, it's like, there is consequences to that, playing with that.
Of course. Yeah. No, well, and there's real feelings behind that person. That person's being affected, and of course affects you in ways you don't always recognize. But yeah, absolutely. Which is the theme of I'm playing around in this fantasy world, thinking as a boy it's just play, when you're actually starting to enter into the world of like true consequences. You said like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, entering in swords and automobiles and drugs and sexuality, like these are the things are your new playthings,
Right.
consequences and all.
Yeah, yeah. Real feelings
Yeah.
get hurt and real lives get
Yep.
lost. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, keep going.
Well, so I want to get into Captain Hook and kind of what we touched on earlier of him pulling the kids into Neverland and trying to tempt them, trying to remove children from their parents. And there's one scene that really just struck me when I watched it as a commentary on education systems, if you want to look at it like that. But just how there are forces out there that will try to drive a wedge between parents and children. And there's a scene in Hook where he puts them in a classroom and teaches them a formal lesson of why parents hate their children. And it's interesting what happens because his daughter, when she's confronted with this lesson, she calls bullshit right away. She's like, no, like I have a connection with my parents. Like I know that that's not true, right? But Jack, his son, who he's having a conflicted relationship with, he's missed his games, he's got a ton of resentment, and that's just built. All of a sudden, it's like, wait, what? He's drawn into it. There's a connection there, right? And so what ensues from that is Hook's starting to drive a wedge between. So immediately he casts out the girl because she's not buying this. She's not susceptible to this at all. So like we're just gonna go put her in the break because we have no use for her, right? But then Jack, we gotta treat him like a king, and we're gonna. This is all weird self-esteem movement stuff. We're going to create this whole fantasy world where we fill in all the gaps that your dad failed in, and he has them do a lesson where he brings him to what does Hook love to do? He smashes all the clocks around him. He's running from time. He's not wanted to grow up, and the one thing Hook's afraid of, which we've unpacked in Peter Pan, is his fear of time. He has him smash all the clocks and air his grievances towards his dad. You didn't let me blow bubbles in my chocolate milk. And it starts out this childish like things. And then it's like, you always made promises and break them. You never showed up to my games. You weren't there for me when I needed it. And it ends with him. He smashes the pocket watch that his dad gave him. And I'm ranting there. Does that?
Yeah, no, it's great. And so how like connect that really clearly with the self-esteem movement and with these efforts of like social emotional learning and the other methods that are used to
so it's all false. I'm going to falsely I mean, back in the like when I was growing up, the self-esteem movement was like, you got to feel good about yourself. Everything you do is great. You're super cool. You're great. Everything you say these things to yourself, right? And it's not based in any kind of real thing, and then the kids who are susceptible to that are the ones who really feel this void, this abandonment. I got some adults who's actually telling me that like you care and you're great and all these things. So you're drawn into that, but it's all based on this falsehood. Like the scene that jumps out to me with that is the baseball game that Hook puts on for Jack. And it stands in contrast to the baseball game that his dad missed at the very beginning of the movie, where he strikes out and he's not very good. He messed something up, right? Whatever it is, right? In this one, they rig this game so he can do no wrong. He gets all the hits. If a guy does something that would get him in trouble, he gets shot in the middle of the game. And like the whole crowd is cheering for him. And so it's all set up for him to have this big home run, and then everyone cheers for him. And Peter Pan is snuck in and is watching this. But it's all false. It's none of this is real, but he can feel like a king even though he's not, which that part feels very kind of Pleasure Island to me. Like we'll give you all the things and all the accolades, and you can live in this fantasy and be the hero without actually having to do anything for it.
And the desire to do this to Jack 100% comes from Hook's desire to hurt Peter in the worst way possible. It has nothing to do with Hook wanting a son. It has nothing to do with Hook wanting to make the perfect pirate. It has nothing to do with absolutely any effort other than this subverts my enemy.
And it's me who suggests this. He's like, you could make him love you. You could make. He's like, what are you talking about? They're never gonna love me. Like, and that's. Then they realize, like, no. What will make Pan the most hurt, the most pissed off, is like he likes you more than he likes Pan. And he doesn't give a shit, Jack. Like he's not, like you said, he's not trying to be his new father figure or trying to
Yeah.
fill some twisted desire to be a dad, which that would be his
Yeah.
own kind of villain story. But this is just like, I want to stick it to this guy.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, quick break from the episode. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Helps us out a ton, and we can keep these things going. So yeah, back to the episode.
Yeah. And so Jack starts working, and he starts playing along. And there's a sense that like Jack knows what game is going on. Like he knows that this isn't because Hook loves him and that he loves Hook. He knows it's because they both are pissed at his father.
Yeah.
And so when I translate that into like the patriarchy or the, whatever, and it's like the it's funny, I was listening to Pink Floyd was on the other day.
Yeah.
And we're watching everyone fight so viciously to like shoot down school choice, save the Department of Education. I just was flipping through the books list of what they're going to read to my kid in public school this week, and there's like oh, we have to save this, and I was like, I remember Pink Floyd. They're a bunch of like dirty, crazy, chaotic hippies, and they were going like, hey, don't you guys know that these teachers are just the hammer of the establishment, like forging children into these sort of automaton, perfect consumers, and which used to be the sort of left-wing hippie idea that I came from, and was like, yeah, down to the establishment. But now suddenly we're like, go establishment. So there's like, so anyway, I'm listening to this like, teachers, leave those kids alone, and and going like, yeah, leave the kids alone. Like, who are you? Some tool, like, of this, like some puppet of this machine, and you're just gonna like, what gives you the right to just forge a kid into your image instead of letting them become the image that they want to become? And like, God forbid their parents have a say in it. But there's this sense of like, they know it, like Hook does. I'm not doing this for your benefit. I'm doing this because I angry at what's come before. Like, I am angry at the father. I am angry at what all that represents. And you get a sense, not that you love me, but that we're together in our
in our rebellion,
our bitterness, our rebellion. And that's why it doesn't work on the daughter, because she has yet to have been hurt by dad in a way that her resentment overcomes her.
Yeah, but it also harkens to the deep connection she has with her mom. Because she says much times like, I know mom loves me. So there's a strong thread that she is holding on to there, which to me is like, whatever you think about like education systems or teachers or whatever, like, I think it's undeniable that there are forces out there that when parents abandon their role or they do it poorly or whatever, like, there's forces out there that want to get in the way of that, want to pull kids away from the safety and security of home for their own malicious reasons. Wherever, like, those things exist, and if you don't believe that, I think like you're naive to those things. Like, those things are out there, and that's what's happening here in this story, because it's this tenuous and really the story of adolescence. As Jack, he's older and he's feels like he's kind of at the age where he's starting to enter adolescence, and he's starting to be tempted by things outside your parents. And are you going to walk down the wrong path, and you're going to find up in a place where it turns you against them, and now you're in this own rebellious thing, and you get manipulated, you get taken advantage of. Like, that stuff is out there, which is why it's so important as a parent, as a father, for Peter to find a way to connect with his son, to find a way to like pursue and rescue his son from these forces that are starting to pull him down the wrong path.
Yeah. And so we see there's a part where Jack sees Peter having this fantastic relationship with other kids. And you see that like a deepening of resentment where it's like, why are you running around with those kids? What was wrong with me? And then
so my take on that scene, because I want to, that's really good, and I think there's something deeper there. Peter was a lost boy, and those lost boys have not grown up, and it doesn't say if like they're the same kids he grew up with, but he's connecting with his old buddies, essentially, is what's happening there. And when Jack sees him doing that, he sees, oh, you do have this childlike side. You have this side that's able to go to those places. Why don't I get any of that? Why do those people get that. And sometimes I think that when kids see that with grown-ups, it's not they're lost boy. It's not that looks like kids in this one, but like I think in your actual life, when I connect with my buddies who I grew up with, like we'll revert back to our old kind of adolescent ways and reminisce about old times, and this kind of lighthearted side comes out, and then kids can easily look at that and see like, where's all that lighthearted fun dad that like I never got to see? Why is all of that what's playing out? And that's actually an important part of Peter's arc in this, because he's rediscovering that side of himself, which eventually he will be able to connect with the son.
Yeah. And that's that line between friend and dad.
Yeah.
That is so tricky. And
and kind of what Peter's arc is trying to discover that too.
Yeah. And,
which that, because that gets to something, and why I think this movie, I got emotional when I watched it. Definitely, it is a movie that definitely, if you're a parent, this hits different when you watch it as a parent, because it doesn't land with Peter learning to be a goofball again and be his friend. His happy thought is remembering the moment he became a father, and all the emotions and all the things that come up with them, and that's how he learns to fly again. I'm getting emotional thinking about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's funny you bring that up, because weirdly, I especially in my first marriage, and then for a long time, I didn't think I wanted to have kids.
Yeah.
And it was going to be too much adulthood, too much responsibility. I was getting old. I was going to take away from my other pursuits, yada yada yada. All that BS of who would bring a child into this world, and a lot of that stuff, And I remember I had a buddy very early on, and while I was with my first wife, and he was like, "You would be an incredible dad. You absolutely have to have kids." And I was like, "I'm not hearing that." And then, still didn't for like another 8 years, I don't think. But weirdly, it was reading Stephen King's It.
Oh, wow.
And getting to the end, where he rides Quicksilver with his wife, who has been like crippled by the dark lights. And it's that like exhilaration and rush of rediscovering childhood, but integrating it with adulthood, and like this healing power. And she like returns to consciousness. And then, there was something about that. When you become a dad, it's the same thing when you do EMDR therapy. You get to kind of time travel, but with all of the wherewithal,
all the
knowledge, and depth.
And,
and that I was like, oh, you mean you get to like share childhood and like that wonder and awe? You get to do that again, only you get to do it like with a spouse that you're crazy about, and like with all these other powers. And it made me go like, this is probably incredible. Which is a weird book to have done it, but Hook, like, so Peter Pan has the same thing.
Okay, because that's exactly what I've gone through, and I'm excited to show my kids this movie because I remember it, and I get to share this with them, and it unlocks this kind of childhood side of myself. I also pushes me forward because I'm connecting to this father side of it, but I'm going through a similar process with my kids as we're experiencing this movie together. I made a list with my kids of like all the movies I'm excited to, my favorite movies and stories I'm excited to share with them as we get older, and I had to argue with my wife about how old they had to be to watch some of them. But we had a couple horror movies on there, and it was one of them, and like that's the one that like my son, I know he's gonna be really scared to like watch that, and he's like 16 or whatever when he watches it. But like it's again like these things you're excited to share with your kids. And really what I'm excited with the scary movies, what I'm excited to, it's an introduction to malevolence, to darkness, to this side of things that like, I want to be there with you when you discover that, because you're going to discover that, right? Let's walk through. I remember watching certain movie. We did the Alien series. I remember getting exposed to that real early and being terrified of those things. And like, that is a part of growing up. That is a part of this maturing process and confronting those things. So anyway, all that's vaguely mixed into this Hook story.
And so then Jack is lured into playing the part. And so he role plays. He gets his little kid Hook wig, and he's dressed in the coat. He gets to be co-captain. It's not like he has to be a sailor. He's offered authority and power right away. He doesn't have to pay his dues. He doesn't have to come up. But let's just give you the privileged spot right away. Here you are. You're a little tiny Hook with me, and he's playing along until he sees like the real consequences right? Like, what's the
Yeah.
moment where he just takes it off and is like, I want to go home now.
Well, because he sees his dad as his hero who's coming to rescue him. So I think it's when
Yeah.
his dad comes in. He's Robin Williams, all playful and all like fully unleashed at that point. But he's pursuing his son for the first time in the whole thing.
Right,
Like,
because
he's seeing his dad is actually fighting for me.
he's standing there, he's watching it happen, and he's still in that resentful place of like, he's doing all this with these other kids.
Yeah.
And then he flies over to him. Peter flies over and says, "You're my happy thought."
Yeah.
Now I'm choking up too.
Yeah,
and
it happens.
And it's Robin Williams. Oh my God. The movie, again, it pitches itself. Like, and so then Jack starts watching it differently. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything his dad was doing that was infuriating him now is rescuing him.
Yeah.
Same actions, different perception.
Yep.
And he goes, "Oh, the patriarchy actually loves me." And so, and then
I think it's that. It's because he sees his dad's pursuit of him and his dad's love for him. That's what snaps him out of the trance of that Hook's put under him.
Yeah. And so this transformation, in some ways, the transformation from Peter Pan into Peter Banning was a misdirected transformation in an attempt to do what needed to be done for his kids.
Yeah.
And then the transformation from Banning back into Pan was the transformation that needed to be done for his kids.
Yeah.
And he was at the risk of forgetting that it was for his kids when he's reminded.
Right. Well, because at the beginning, he's playing with the Lost Boys. He's learned to use his imagination. His happy thought he's trying to come up with is not being in a slingshot, which is stupid. Like, he...
self-preservation.
And it's all food fight. It's all that. And then when he learns to fly is when he remembers becoming a father.
Yeah.
He connects to like, wait, that's the whole reason I'm here. It's not to just be playful and unlock my childhood side. There's a whole purpose to that. Because if that's all he did, then he would forget about his kids and stay back in Neverland. Which is
and he would play forever, which is what masculinity is doing today.
Well, which is what adults are doing who abandon their kids. Is I'm gonna leave my family to pursue my own pleasure, my own fulfillment,
sports cars and Tinkerbell and
exactly, whatever the thing is, right?
And then what I love is what you said about my happy thought is not being in the slingshot is like self-preservation doesn't cohabitate with parenthood.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah.
Right. And so you got to give up on that idea that you get to get out of the slingshot. Like parenthood is the slingshot.
Yeah. That's good.
And so he forgot about his kids as he was becoming Banning. He was about to forget about his kids as he was re-becoming Pan.
Yeah.
But then he gets arrested by this reminder, and so that they integrate, and he gets to be a physically capable, strong, wise, mature grown-up,
right,
with all the love of a father.
Yeah.
And the playful boy that's inside, which is what you get to do when you have kids.
Which is also when that transition happens, the Lost Boys immediately shift to him from Rufio. Like, it's like, no, he's the guy. And then
they don't idolize the cool boy band haircut.
Because they realize like there's a real grown up here who we need what he's got. We need that maturity. Like, they're starved for a parent.
Right. And they treat him differently. The Lost Boys kind of become kids around a grown-up that's leading them again.
Yeah, right.
And so then Rufio dies, and it's after that when Jack sees what is happening to him, right? Because Jack's in the process of dying to Jack and being raised as Hook.
Yeah.
And he sees Rufio die, and he sees the stakes, and he goes, let's not play this game anymore.
Right.
He takes off the thing, and he's like, okay, I am also ready to set down the resentment. Like, we had fun in this play box, the sandbox. Now let's go ahead and go home.
Yeah. Well, and when Rufio dies, it's interesting because it is when the adolescent boy who's grown up and they are cocky and they're arrogant, and then they realize like there's real stakes there, because he dies quick. Like, he shows up, he's goofy, he's snapping quips towards Captain Hook, and then like boom, stabbed dead.
Yeah.
and then it strikes you, but the moment goes by quick. Then they're just on to like fighting and
back
all
to
right,
the
well,
adventure.
we feel lust, right? Which is kind of what happens in like Tina. Like there's nothing else to do. We don't know how to properly grieve or properly acknowledge like the death of what we just go back to playing or go back to fighting or go back to whatever it is we're doing. So yeah, it's I mean, I think when you look at Hook and you're going to make a sequel to Peter Pan, if Peter Pan is the boy who doesn't want to grow up and ultimately like about story about learning to grow up, and what happens to Pan after he grows up, like, well, he's got to return to Neverland to rediscover his childhood. It's like you said, the script writes itself. It fits so well. You told me it had like a 26% score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is ridiculous.
It's got a crazy low score on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's have you ever met anybody that doesn't like Hook?
No,
I never have.
No,
like that POS.
Yeah,
like, never.
And like again, star-studded cast, like Dustin Hoffman's brilliant as Hook. Robin Williams, of course, is like brilliant in that role. He did a sneaky good job at like, you think of him as such the childhood whimsy guy, but he plays a good staunch boring dad, especially at the beginning. But
it won a bunch of Oscars, for crying out loud.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
I mean,
not like Oscars are an indication of quality anymore, but
it was then though. Like there's some serious there, but like the Julie Roberts, Tinkerbell, which I didn't love that casting, but like she was a star and it works.
Right. Yeah.
Bob Hoskins is sneaky great, like casting,
just phenomenal.
Yeah. Which he had another spot at the beginning because as Hook is getting defeated and burning down, Smee and other pirates do what exactly happens to villains is as one tyrant starts going down, they just start stealing all of his crap, and like because it's all been utilitarian for them. They're all just using each other, and as soon as that isn't useful anymore, like he's not standing by Hook honoring him as his reign is coming to an end. He's stealing stuff and running off.
Yeah, that it was always about self-preservation, resentment, self-interest, self-aggrandizement, and so he sees opportunism rears its head,
which is again what.
And Gwyneth Paltrow is in this movie. She has one line, and it's she's Wendy at the very beginning, like before she grows up to be Maggie Smith.
Interesting. Yeah. Shoot, man, Maggie Smith is brilliant in that. Actually, one note on Maggie Smith before we get to victim come up or villain comeuppance. Do you remember at the beginning what her why they fly to London to see her? What the banquet they're throwing for her?
Oh, it was for an orphanage, right? The dedication of an orphanage. Yeah,
the dedication of an orphanage. So in Peter Pan, all the Lost Boys are saying like, "Will you be our mother?" And she did. She became the Lost Boys' mother. She created homes for all of these boys that she's being honored for, which is like such a cool little connection you make at the beginning, which you don't pick up on as a kid.
Yeah, totally.
So villain comeuppance. What do we see here with
so villain comeuppance, right? So the most important thing to him is his honor and his dignity, his self-aggrandizement, getting what he wants, and he has been triumphing over all of Neverland over time, and he loses his hat. Peter gives it back in this thing of honor, and then he scrapes him with the hook. So we see that like even as he's asking for his dignity, he really deserves none and exhibits none. And then he's gonna sneaky with like this pop out blade. He's gonna stab Peter in the back, which proves that he really didn't want his war. What he wants is vengeance. And then in that moment, like
so Peter, when he lunges for him, Peter grabs his hand with the hook and he plunges the hook into the crocodile clock, which when we did the first one, crocodile clock representing time catching up to him, right? So he's seemingly defeated time, but it's now just set up as this giant clock tower. And then so he plunges his hook, this essence of who Captain Hook is, into the thing that represents time, and it falls over onto him and ultimately devours him. So he gets devoured by the giant clock.
And not only that, but the giant clock was this symbol of Hook's arrogance, where he said, "Look what I have done.
I've even defeated time."
Which is like very like this Ozymandias kind of quality to it, And then no, it turns out even when you think that you have
Yeah.
defeated time, there just isn't any outrunning it. You
Yeah.
don't escape it, especially
Yeah.
not when you are cheating and
Yeah.
destroying and stealing
Yeah.
and killing.
Yeah.
That
And
your end
it's
is
interesting
inevitable.
because as he gets humiliated with all this, like his hook comes off, he feels like this bald, fragile old guy. Which again, time catching up to you, like that's what happens. Like your body's broken down, you're not attractive, you're everything that you've relied on. Time has pulled away from you,
Yeah.
and then the clock devours you.
Yeah, and it also feels a little bit like what Jordan Peterson says about how in his experience, no one ever gets away with anything.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, it's like, just vengeance is mine, says the Lord. It's this idea that like just continue to behave. Like all Peter did was just continue to behave in a forthright and upright manner, to be courageous and honest and charitable.
Yeah.
And then Hook actually, in a way, like consumes himself. Like his deeds catch up with him. And that's how he goes. Like Peter doesn't have to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's in a lot of what I think are some of the more satisfying villain comeuppances in like a lot of the kids' movies that we'll talk about. That's sort of how it plays out. Is they just kind of get what's coming to them by their own hand.
The inevitable ends up catching up to them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think of no one ever gets away with anything. The other story I think of is the Edgar Allan Poe poem, The Telltale Heart, where it's he got away with it, but that clicking, that pounding, the symbol of your conscience, like what you did.
Yeah.
And no one may ever find out about that, but you have to carry that around with you for the rest of your life. And if no one ever knows, like it's going to change the way you relate to people. Now you have a secret to carry with you. In my practice, when I see guys who carrying major secrets in their lives and in their relationships, like, no, you don't get away with that. Even if you've cheated on your wife forever and she never finds out, like that's not getting away with it, because now your marriage is paid. Your marriage will pay the price. It will carry the burden of that. Your mind will carry the burden. It will change the way you approach things and how you trust people or how you don't trust people and how you trust yourself. Like those ripple effects are there, whether anyone knows about it or not. Right. So don't think for a second you got away with it just because no one found out about anything.
Yeah, it's like justice takes many forms and is inevitable.
Yeah.
So well, cool.
So, yeah. I mean, this one again, like there's so when I watched it last weekend, like there's so much richness to it. Like the script really jumped out to me as like every line feels like there's just so much packed into it that like we could discuss. So it's like, let us know your thoughts. It's certainly worth the $4 to go back and rewatch it and get a glimpse of like what all the stuff is there. And especially like we touched on it a little bit. For me, this one really hits different as a parent. Like it's the child whimsy, in the ways like we both kind of teared up just like thinking about it. Like that is screaming loud. Especially I think when you grew up as a kid, like seeing this, that's got the nostalgia factor to it. But then it's like this whole layer opens up that like when you grew up watching it, you could not have picked up on.
Yeah.
Check it out and let us know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're enjoying these, remember to like and subscribe and join us for some navel gazing and occasional super insightful depth in analyzing kids' movies and the occasional dad's night out.